Could Chris Evans actually return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Captain America? Never say never. Avengers Assemble. 2 words we waited nearly a decade to hear from the mouth of Chris Evans, aka Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. And while we finally got that payoff in this year's Avengers Endgame, wow, that was this year, sadly we'll probably never get a chance to hear him utter those words again, at least not on the big screen. Or so we thought! Beyond becoming the biggest film on the planet, Avengers Endgame also paid off over 10 years of storytelling across the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And one of those payoffs was the completion of Captain America's storyline, where Steve Rogers used time travel to fix things and spent some quality time with his old sweetheart, Peggy Carter. It was a great ending to the character who we've seen portrayed by Chris Evans across 11 Marvel films, trust us, we've counted, and seeing his character development capped off by Rogers passing the shield and mantle of Captain America to Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. It appeared Rogers' story, and by extension Chris Evans' story as well in the MCU, was complete.
It was beautiful.
It's also no secret how much Evans himself has made it abundantly clear that while he enjoyed his time wielding the shield, he'd also like to pursue other projects in his career.
You gotta do this more often.
But while the prospect of seeing Chris Evans don the stars and stripes once more seemed like a closed door, said proverbial door has opened up a crack, it appears, and he might not entirely be done as Captain America just yet.
I can do this all day.
The 38-year-old actor sat down with his MCU co-star Scarlett Johansson for Variety's Actors on Actors issue to talk about their time together in the MCU. Johansson, who plays Black Widow alongside him, asked Evans if he would ever come back to Marvel, and he replied, "You never say never. I love the character. I don't know." Evans went on to say, "It's not a hard no, but it's not an eager yes either. There are other things that I'm working on right now. I think Cap had such a tricky act to stick the landing, and I think they did a really nice job letting him complete his journey." Now, considering we last saw him as Old Man Rogers at the end of Avengers Endgame, what would it take to get Evans back in the costume? Well, fortunately, he has a few thoughts about that. If you're going to revisit it, it can't just be a cash grab. It can't be just because the audience wants to be excited. What are we revealing? What are we adding to the story? A lot of things would have to come together. So while Evans was previously ready to walk away from the character for good, it now appears that he's open to returning with the right story.
I could do this all day.
But despite this openness to possibly return to the role, he does go on to admit that Cap's ending should not be sullied. It'd be a shame to sour that. I'm very protective of it. It was such a precious time, and jumping onto the movie was a terrifying prospect to me. I said no a bunch of times, and there's 1,000,001 ways it could have gone wrong. It almost feels like maybe we should let this one sit. So if all the pieces were to work themselves out in the future for Evans' return, what could bring Steve Rogers back to the MCU? Well, first off, this isn't something people should expect to see anytime soon, especially with the Falcon and Bucky Comedy Hour coming to Disney Plus within the next couple of years. The MCU has a new Captain America now, and they need to let that character inhabit this role before bringing Rogers back in any major capacity. However, there's nothing to say there couldn't be a cameo in the future in some way for an event film, or maybe we could see him in a flashback, or perhaps in some sort of time travel shenanigans if the writers and directors can ever agree for once how time travel works in Avengers Endgame.
So Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit.
Now, this would also allow fans to see an aged-up Steve Rogers in the past, or maybe an alternate timeline, or whatever it ends up being for some reason, maybe like working a Black Ops mission, or just influencing events without drawing the eye of his former Avengers buddies. But like Evans said, there better be a dang good reason for all of this and not just a cameo for cameo's sake. Lucky for fans and Evans, there might be a test case for this with the upcoming Black Widow film. Now, despite her character's demise in Endgame, ScarJo's returning one more time to the MCU to reprise her role in a solo outing, which is reportedly going to help bridge the gap between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War. And she isn't the only deceased character expected to make a comeback. It's also been revealed that Robert Downey Jr. is expected to return as Tony Stark in that movie. That makes 2 actors returning to their MCU roles less than a year after their characters' deaths.
Whew, it's good to be back.
Although, if you wanted to get extremely technical about it, there's also like all of the characters that were dusted in Infinity War who came back to existence in Endgame, so it's really not that uncommon. In all seriousness, while we're always happy to hear that Chris Evans is still open to the role of reprising America's ass, we're equally just as happy to see him protecting its legacy.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Because yeah, while a cameo would be fun in the moment, there'd better be a good reason for him to come back, or otherwise, that dance may have all been for nothing. Oh, that hurts. But what do you folks think? Would you like to see Chris Evans return as Captain America? And if he does, what kind of story should he return for? And who else would you like to see make a comeback? Hugh Jackman as Logan, Chris Pine as Peter Parker, Chris Evans as the Human Torch?
No.
Let's discuss. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, why not give us a like and subscribe? And if you want to get notified every time we go live with a show or drop a new video, feel free to mash that little bell so you can be up to date on all the latest theories, news, and rumors in the pop culture world.